Okay, any request for continuance? All righty, let's get into the discussion agenda. Let's start with item 1, consideration of a ballot measure proposed by Women Occupy San Diego. At the last meeting, we had a full presentation, so we will now turn to our City Attorney, Paige Falkman, for a brief overview.
Thank you, Committee Chair Montgomery. On September 18th, 2019, this committee asked our office to review and draft legally appropriate language for the Women Occupy proposal submitted to the city in June. In response to the committee's direction, we issued a city attorney report dated October 22nd, 2019. The report includes the draft proposal and a chart that explains our changes. The report explains our non-substantive and substantive changes in more detail. The committee may approve, reject, or modify the proposed ballot measure before it. A majority affirmative vote is required to move the item forward with a recommendation. If it is forwarded, the council wants to place it on the November 2020 ballot, it will first need to authorize, meet, and confer with the city's recognized employee organizations, as the proposed ballot measure may impact the terms and conditions of their employment. The meet and confer process may result in changes to the ballot measure that's before you today. With that, I'll turn it back to Committee Chair.
Thank you very much, and I will also note that Deputy City Attorney Joan Dawson is also available for questions, and I'd like to turn to Mr. Patel from the IBA's office.
Thank you, Chair Montgomery. I'm Baku Patel with the Office of the IBA. I would just like to comment and reiterate that it is our recommendation to have what are generally referred to as informal and miscellaneous complaints excluded from both the Commission's investigative and review capacities. The proposed charter amendment, as written by the City Attorney's Office, only limits investigations and not required reviews. If review of these complaints were to be required, a much greater time commitment from the Commission's board members by a significant measure would be necessary compared to that of the current CRB. This recommendation was included in our report 19-20, which we presented at the last committee meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We are now going to turn to public comment. You will have 1 minute for public comment. We have a lot of speakers, and so some of you have time seated, but others, please be sure to get your thoughts together so that we can make sure that we hear your point in 1 minute. So right now we will start with folks who have time seated to them. Sue Quinn will be first with time seated by Virginia Franco and Herbert Shore. You will have 3 minutes. And then as she is coming up, we will, the next person is Ariana Frederico. You have time seated by Victor Ponce, and you will have 2 minutes.
Hi, I'm Sue Quinn. I've been involved in civilian oversight locally and nationally since 1992. I have a 5-page paper for you that I won't have time to read entirely. I have submitted it to the San Diego CRB and to the Chief of Police. I will read a few comments from it in my 3 minutes. They're fleeting. The seconds are fleeting fast. Please see the recommendations in my paper. I bring them to you with deep respect for the work that has been done for 30 years in San Diego City and San Diego County on civilian oversight, wherein the city chose the monitoring model, the county chose the investigative model. Each model has had difficulty. Neither model has been adequately funded. Neither model, without adequate funding and resourcing, civilian oversight will not help heal the community trauma that come from preventable deaths and significant critical incidents, whether they be on patrol or in the jails. There's a new book out by the Eisenhower Foundation called Healing Our Divided Society. The Eisenhower Foundation works out of Washington, D.C., and is willing to work with communities on these issues, as is NACOL, the National Association for Civilian Oversight of Law Enforcement, which I have been involved with since 1977. When do you have to make the final determination in order for this measure to be on the ballot in November?
Ma'am, we will answer that when it's our time to speak. We have
Okay,
Colonel Brown at the
okay,
council.
that is an important, and with that said, I will, with 48 seconds left, I will submit, that's my statement. Please read the 5-page report and call me with any questions. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. And I think I was mistaken, this is an organized presentation. Ariana and Victor Ponce would be next. And you'll be followed by Amy Lapine.
Good morning.
And, I'm sorry, just make your way up to the front, please. Thank you.
Good
You have 2
morning.
minutes.
Okay. Good morning, council members. This isn't an organized presentation. We are giving public comment, myself, Ariana Federico, and also Victor Ponce. So I am the youth organizer at Mid-City Can. I'm also a resident of District 4. And I do urge the committee to approve item 1 regarding the establishment of independent commissions on police practices. So Mid-City Council youth, they're not able to be here because they are currently in school, but we do demand that the PSLN committee move forward with the ballot measure to create a truly independent, community-led commission on police practices. So our youth have been engaged in these spaces, and they had continued to show up and push for this specific independent commission on police practices because they do want to continue to see how is it that we can have better conversations with our communities and police in order to create just a better community overall to better represent youth council, but then also better relationships. So I hope that you continue to support the independent community-led commission on police practices. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And you'll take the remainder of the time, Victor?
Yeah, it was supposed to be
Yes,
two separate public
you have
comments.
1 minute.
Good morning, council members. My name is Victor Ponce. I'm here today representing Mid-City Can's Youth Council, and I am also a District 3 resident. I'm here just in support of item 1, the charter amendment, for you to push forward the charter amendment regarding police oversight. Statistics show that youth of color and youth from low-income communities are more vulnerable to police violence and harassment. Therefore, our youth are continuing to pursue this issue. And they believe that the most effective way to ensure that the youth of color, such as themselves, aren't being harassed and over-criminalized is by having an independent commission. That is why we ask that you send this forward and we hold the police officers accountable. And thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Amy Lapine, you are next, and you'll be followed by Michael McConnell.
Good morning, members of the council. My name is Amy Lapine. I am an attorney in private practice here in San Diego. I have prosecuted cases against the San Diego Police Department and other cities in the county. And I am here to encourage and urge you to support this ballot measure. Independent review, there just simply is no substitute for it. Without it, and without some actual teeth in the organization that is doing the investigation, we end up, the community at large, with really just a rubber stamping of what internal affairs gives us, which unfortunately does not represent the information that they themselves receive often. So in order to root out the bad actors, and I don't think that there are many, but in order to do that, we need some sort of real independent overview and oversight of our police officers. And I encourage you to also to fund this measure to the maximum. Other speakers have spoken on that. Without the money, nothing will really happen, and I thank you.
Thank you very much. Michael McConnell, you are up next, and you'll be followed by Martha Welch. Folks, please make your way up to the front. Thanks.
Sorry about that. I'll be very brief. I'm just here to support the Independent Commission on Police Practices. It's time for this city to move forward on this issue and put some teeth into this oversight body. So I appreciate you taking up this matter to the Women Occupy group and everybody involved in this, moving it forward, and I certainly urge you to move it forward to the full council. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Martha Welch, you are next, and you will be followed by Doug Case.
I'm very much in favor of this. We've been waiting too long for this kind of stuff. The city drags their feet all the time and changes everything up. and help you fill this commission up. We need this so much because the police have a lot of problems. Homeless and all that stuff they do right here, and black people and all that stuff. We need this very badly. And if you don't do the right thing right here, it's on you guys, because it has to be going through. Because this is something we wanted for a long time, and it should be in the ballot, and you should do this.
Thank you very much. Doug Case, you will be followed by Jack Shu. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. My name is Doug Case. I'm the past chair of the Community Review Board on Police Practices. Speaking today as an individual, not on behalf of the board. As I've said indicated previously, I support the concept of the hybrid model with investigation authority in certain circumstances and independent counsel. Some of the concerns in my prior correspondence have been addressed in the current draft by the city attorney. One concern I do have, however, is the selection of the executive director, which needs to be free of political influence. I suggest a process similar to that of the appointment of the executive director of the Ethics Commission, which also is an independent commission. That process, specified by ordinance, is that the executive director is selected by the commission and appointed by the council. And I would recommend that for the new commission. I have some other issues, but I believe those can be addressed in the implementation ordinance if this is approved by the council and by the voters. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Jack Shu, and you will be followed by Kate Yavandetti.
Good morning, council members. My name is Jack Shu. In a former life, actually for 22 years, I was a supervising state law enforcement officer. I taught community policing, I dealt with community relations, I taught it to our cadets. So I have some background on this, and for the past year, I've been studying police review commission boards and looked into what makes them work well. They have to be independent. So I fully support Women Occupy's proposal to put this on the ballot. I think it's important. Police review commission boards are not an item to get at police. It's a way to improve our law enforcement services. Police officers get power by trust, not by having fancy vehicles or better armament. Their strength in our community is with trust, and that's why we need a stronger, independent police review board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kate Yavandetti, you have time ceded by Colleen Ditzel.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Kate Yavandetti, as you know. As you also know, I'm a member of Women Occupy San Diego, also a member of the National Lawyers Guild and the Tom Homan Law Association, who are all supporters of this amendment. We just received the memo from the Office of the City Attorney, and so we haven't really been able to comment on that. So I'm not going to comment on that. But what I do want to comment on is I want to commend the council for the action it took in connection with the audit committee on Monday, which unanimously supported having an independent auditor not appointed by the city. And I just want the council to look at how that dovetails with our position, and to kind of paraphrase Councilmember Sherman, who said, it makes no sense to have an administration or a mayor choosing the auditor who oversees the administration. It makes no sense, in our view and in the community view, to have investigators investigate themselves, and that's what's happening with the police department. That's what this is all about, and as Jack just told you, we believe that this will help community trust in the police department, that it will help the relationship between the police department and the community. We have no bad things to say about the current investigations that are done by the police department. We hear from the CRB and others that they do a good job in investigation. It's all about the community trust. And if you really want to improve the relationships between the community and the police department, we urge you to support this amendment, to move it on to the meet and confer and move it on to full city council. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And our next speaker.
I do have one other thing because I forgot. We have a lot of people here who are in support of this amendment. I would just like everyone to show their signs and to stand up if you wish, who are in support of this amendment, people who are not speaking. But you know that we can fill this room and more with our supporters.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Susan Orlovsky. You'll be followed by Nancy Vaughn.
Good morning. I'm Susan Orlovsky. I reside in District 2, and I'm here as first vice president of CLU, Coalition of Labor Union Women, San Diego chapter. We endorsed this idea of independent review because we think it is so important that for union members, it will make union members and their families safer, and independent oversight will strengthen the relationship of the San Diego Police Department with the community. And even in that case, it will improve the lives of the San Diego Police Department members and their families. So I urge you to take action on this and move this forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Nancy Vaughn, you will be followed by Mary Latubash-Vili. Sorry.
Good morning. I'm Nancy Vaughn. I'm from Ocean Beach. I'm a 10-year member of the CRB, and I'm here speaking as myself, not as a member of CRB. I like this proposal because of the increased independence. NACOL, the national organization, recognizes that independence is the most important issue when setting up civilian oversight. But I don't like the fact that you guys are going to do a separate investigation. I know you love it. I know you love it, but it will not help make things better. Closer work with IA, with their investigative work, is what we really need to make sure they're doing it right. And when CRB starts publishing the summaries of our reports and what we've been doing, I think you will see that. Transparency is so important in this business. And after 30 years of wanting to be transparent, we're finally going to be able to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Vaughn. Mary, you are up next. You will be followed by Martha Sullivan, and Martha will be followed by Kim Knox.
Hi there. My name is Mary Latubashvili. I am here today on behalf of San Diegans for Justice, as well as the San Diego Labor Democratic Club. I wanted to share a couple of statistics with you all today. There were 13 officer-involved shootings in the 2016 and 2017 year, and the officer in each of those shootings did not attempt non-lethal force in any of them, meaning there were 0 attempts at de-escalation. 40% of the people killed or seriously injured by police were completely unarmed, meaning that not only did they not have a gun, but they also did not have a weapon of any kind. The Black community is 6% of the overall city population, but made up 20% of people killed or seriously injured by police. And San Diego spends an average of $4.4 million per year on police misconduct settlements that come from the city general fund and not the police department budget. In 2014, the number was $7.9 million, and in the year 2010 to 2011, it was $11.1 million. I would like to say that I'm in support of moving forward with the Independent Commission on Police Practices. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha Sullivan. You are up next. You will be followed by Kim Knox, who will be followed by Ann Barron.
Good morning. I'm Martha Sullivan. You've seen me here a lot. I've worked with Women Occupy San Diego on this proposal for the last several years. I'm thrilled to see it getting as far as it has, and I'm grateful for the support for that. I just want to, Facebook provided a memory this morning that I thought was very apt. As the daughter of a career FBI agent, I lived the risk he faced growing up. But the San Diego PD's own published 32 deaths of officers since its founding 104 years ago stand in stark contrast to the 383 people who have been shot and killed by San Diego police officers since 1980. This is a memory from 2016, so it needs to be updated as to the numbers. But I want to share that. I mean, I grew up as a law enforcement brat. We need balance here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kim Knox, you are next. You will be followed by Ann Barron.
Good morning. I'm Kim Knox, representing the League of Women Voters of San Diego. The League of Women Voters supports city government with structures and procedures that promote responsive, responsible, and efficient government with adequate checks and balances of power, with equal opportunities for citizens, and with provisions for citizen participation. The League supports having an independent commission on police practices that has the power to investigate all in-custody deaths and officer-involved shootings. To thoroughly conduct its responsibilities, it should have an independent attorney and subpoena power. We support policies and procedures that encourage community participation in development of policing policy, provide police accountability via independent citizen oversight of law enforcement and publicly available data on officer conduct, build public trust and positive community relationships through police engagement with community members. We endorse the objectives of the ballot measure proposed by Women Occupy San Diego and urge you consider sending it to City Council.
Thank you very much. Ann Barron, you are up next. You'll be followed by Andre Bollinger.
Hi, good morning. Ann Barron, Peace Resource Center of San Diego, and also the Peace Momentum team in City Heights. Today is Unity Day across the country. It is a recognition that bullying in schools is an epidemic. And the question that we're really addressing today, what if that bully is the school police officer? What do we do then? So we're asking people to be upstanders against bullying. We've had incidences of police abusing their power against young people. So there are two asks I have for today's vote. One, that we do put a seat for impacted people, especially youth, on the commission. Doesn't have to be spelled out, but there needs to be in the ballot proposal a recognition that diversity is needed on the commission and that youth has to have a seat and impacted peoples have to have a seat on this commission. And I respectfully address the independent budget analysis assessment. Did they also consider the money we spend in lawsuits? Thank you.
Thank you. Andre Bollinger, you are up next. You will be followed by Jean-Louis Tran.
Good morning. I want to express my support for this measure. To give you a little background on me, I started out in the fire department. I then went into teaching. I left teaching to do criminal defense because of the way that I saw students being dragged into the criminal justice system. I'm a professional, I'm an attorney, and it's still difficult for me to make it to these hearings because of the hour, and I want to remind you that there are so many people that cannot be here in this crowd. A lot of those people are in the communities that are most impacted by policing. It is important to have community trust. It is the most important thing. I will notice that this gentleman's plate says the Independent Budget Analyst Office, and that is because it's important to be independent. If the office worked for one of you members, it wouldn't be as well trusted. It doesn't mean they would do a different job or anything would be different about them, but the independence is incredibly important. It's important for the community to believe in and trust that there is sufficient oversight. The secrecy that has gone on in this community around police oversight has been going on for a long time, and it needs to be important that there is sufficient oversight and it is shown to the people. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Jean-Louis Tran, you are up next, and you will be followed by Chelsea Burgess-Daughter.
Hi, my name is Jean-Louis. I'm a local activist here, and I have been working with, criminal justice reform. So there are a lot of efforts right now trying to increase more trust and building relationship with the police, and as well as transparency. And I believe that you cannot ask the system to audit itself because the system would write the rules to protect itself instead of doing that. And the whole purpose of audit is to basically create more learning opportunity, and this independent commission will provide that opportunity, so the police department will be able to learn how to better themselves, how to better their practices. This is the best way that we can bring about the trust into the community, and let have the people vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chelsea, you're up next. You will be followed by Michael Brackner, who will be followed by John Lee Dang.
Good morning, council members. My name is Chelsea Burgess-Daughter. I'm here today as part of the ACLU of San Diego and Imperial Counties. Our organization is supporting the ballot measure proposed by Women Occupy San Diego that seeks to create an independent, community-led commission on police practices. This ballot measure is an essential step to improving our trust between the police department and our communities. The ability to conduct an independent investigation with independent legal counsel and have the subpoena power necessary to review all relevant documents and witnesses is tantamount to providing a fair process and justice to victims of police misconduct. We ask this committee to vote to send the ballot measure to City Council. We must continue the process of ensuring that the public has the opportunity to vote on the most robust, fair, and balanced ballot measure. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Michael Brackney, you are up next, and you will be followed by Johnny Lee Dang.
Morning, council members. I'm from Hillcrest, and I'm speaking in favor of an independent commission on police practices this morning, and I want to emphasize our need for community trust. Not only community trust in police, but I'd like the council members to promote the vision of police trust in the community, because I believe it will work both ways, as it has done in other communities. Last of all, I would like the members to promote the vision of community trust as a whole, because we need it desperately in this time of climate emergency. We're all going to need to work together, and I believe that this measure will give us an opportunity to learn better how to do the work that we all need to do across the board to face that huge challenge. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Johnny Lee Dang, you are up next. You will be followed by Clovis Honore.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Johnny Lee Dang, resident of San Diego, and I'm here in support of the Independent Police Oversight Committee. I'm a millennial, and as a millennial, I grew up with politicians lying, as media lying, and government officials lying, and over time, as a millennial, we have the internet, and we're able to search and find the truth on the internet. And because of that, trust has been lost between not just our generation and everybody else, from the media to the government, but as also with every generation. As more and more trust is being lost between our government and our people, we start to see things start happening, such as more crime and more injustice happening. And so this oversight committee will help restore trust for the younger generation, as well as all the people in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Honore, you are up next, and our last speaker will be Ramon Marquez.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You all know, Clovis Honore, NAACP. You all know we are in support of the measure. We are very concerned about those 2 seats that have been talked about. You've heard statistics that you know that there are communities of color, communities of concern that are disproportionately impacted by policing. If there is not a seat on this commission for those folks, we're going to have some difficulty appreciating some of the work that you do. Again, the gentleman just mentioned that the baby boomer generation has made a pretty good mess of things. If you do not have the representation of youth on this commission, they're also going to have some difficulty trusting what you do. So I think it would be very, very good if you would put those in there, make sure they stay in there, and make sure that that representation is part of your commission. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Marquez, our last speaker.
Good morning, council members. My name is Ramon Montaño Marquez. I'm a current member of the CRB, but speaking as a citizen of City Heights. I'm in full support of the Independent Commission. I support the Independent Commission because that will create true trust with the community. For far too long, this distrust have been going on in our communities. This is the perfect opportunity for us to move towards the right direction and finally let the people vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have a number of people who filled out speaker slips but do not wish to speak. Eva Posner, Ms. Garcia, Saul Frederico, Hino Gitane, Kayla Appenzeller, Remy Bautista, Eric Kosa, sorry y'all. Paula Buckley, DeForest Hancock, Tariq Hadari, Robert Davis, Antonio Davis. I apologize for butchering your names. If I did that, you can call me out after the meeting. Okay. I'm sorry. They're all in favor. So thank you all for being here. We started this a long time ago. Women Occupy started a long time ago. We've definitely evolved, hopefully for the better from that point. I would also just like to take the time to thank the city attorney for really sticking to the motion that was voted upon by the committee last meeting. I think that this captures the intent of the Women Occupy proposal quite well. And so moving forward, I think it's just a good proposed charter amendment for us to move forward and get it to the council so that we can start the meet and confer process. Just to quickly answer Ms. Quinn's concerns about how soon do we have to do this, we have been meeting with community and have had hundreds of meetings with stakeholders on this particular measure since I took office late last year. But I had been involved also before then, and so there has been a lot of community engagement at this point, and I think that the public comment also made that clear. I think the piece about healing doesn't just come from one policy or one proposal. I think that that's something that as a community, this is, I believe, putting us in the right direction towards that, but it will not ultimately solve some of the issues that we have and with regard to police relationships with community members. That's part of the reason why I have launched the peace movement, which I hope, Ms. Quinn, you will can be a part of. My staff will get in touch with you about that, where we can talk about some of this healing that we need to do. And we are having a community partner alignment meeting next week. And so that's right on time with what you're talking about. But I think this policy, as far as encompassing stakeholders from all sides of the aisle, this is what we've come up with, and I'm actually quite happy with it. With that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and, before I take my committee member comments, I do want to move that we forward this ballot measure, proposed ballot measure, amending Charters Section 40 and 41 and adding Charter Section 41.2 related to the establishment of the Commission on Police Practices to the council to determine if the council as a whole wants to authorize, meet, and confer of the proposed ballot measure as drafted by the Office of the City Attorney so that it can be considered for the November 2020 ballot after the meet and confer process concludes with the following changes. In Section 4.2, paragraph 11, the last sentence, we can add the following language to this last sentence. It should read, the commission will not review, evaluate, or investigate a complaint where the complainant has requested that the complaint be handled without review, evaluation, or investigation, or where no specific allegation or police officer can be identified. And then the second change would be to strike out the last sentence of Section 4.2, paragraph P14. That is my motion. And with that, I move to council member comments. Councilmember Moreno.
Well, first and foremost, thank you to all the speakers that came out today. I also want to commend Chair Montgomery for your leadership on this item. In addition, I also want to thank the Women Occupy San Diego for all your work throughout the years. I'm very happy to see this ballot proposal come forward. I think by proactively communicating and working together, we can build and maintain a strong level of trust and respect between our communities and the San Diego Police Department. So I'm happy to second your motion.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Kate.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for just kind of reading those amendments that you outlined real quick. Okay. Thank you also to the State Attorney's Office, Ms. Dawson, for your work on this. It's very well done, very thorough. I guess the question I have is in regards to your section of the memo when it discussed undefined terms. So essentially, is your belief that because terms like complaint and misconduct are not necessarily defined within the amendment, that's something that can be defined at a future date with an implementing ordinance?
Joan Dawson, Deputy City Attorney. The answer to that question is yes.
Okay, perfect. And then my only other question is on meet and confer. As we track through this, and I'm trying to track down what would all the things in the implementing ordinance we would have to be addressed in there. is there the potential that the ordinance itself too would have to go through the meet and confer process based, just depending upon how broad it is or what we're trying to address in there?
That's also correct. Most likely, the implementing ordinance
Okay.
will require meet and confer, so the city would be
Okay.
engaged in sort of two steps of meet and confer. First, the meet and confer required to place the measure on the ballot, and then the second go-around would be before the implementing ordinance is adopted.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Dawson. Again, I appreciate the comments by Madam Chair and the amendments. If I'm reading this right, and again, it's been 45 seconds since you said it, the last section on P14 addresses, I would assume, the IBA's comments about reviews, investigation. I'm gathering, but I haven't, again, took time to read that.
That is correct,
Okay,
yes.
perfect. I appreciate that. I think we're getting to a good point. I'm gonna, digest this more. Obviously, colleagues, things, as we know from this week, can change on the dais. So we'll see what happens when this comes to council. But at this point in time, I am supportive of moving this forward to hear from our colleagues and what they have to say about this measure as well too, and what potentially will come out of that hearing. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Kate. Vice Chair Bree.
Thank you, Chair Montgomery. Thank you for your leadership on this issue before you even joined the council. Thank you, Women Occupy. Thank you all for coming today. This really is democracy to see all of you here at City Hall. I'm going to support this motion today. And just two things that come to mind after listening to all of the speakers today is the importance of a process free of political influence in selecting the executive director, and the importance of building community trust. This is one piece of it, and I think the peace movement that you've launched, Chair Montgomery, is another important piece of building community trust, so thank you.
Thank you very much. And with that, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor? Oh, okay, any opposed? So that passes unanimously, and we'll see everyone at City Council. Thank you so much. Thank you. So we are going to go to item number 2, proposed revisions to the municipal code and fees related to the massage industry. We have Andre Brown coming up to do this presentation. Councilmember Kate, I don't know if you have any introductory comments, but if not, okay. All right, sounds good. Thank you.